And welcome back to the hottest marriage show in the world. I'm John D, aka Too Much, and this is my wife, Do. How are you doing today?
I'm doing better today.
Okay, what's wrong with you? What was wrong? What was wrong yesterday?
Yesterday, my nephew graduated, which was awesome.
Yes, congratulations.
Yes, and I loved seeing him. Loved seeing him take an extra step as a scholar and a graduate, and hearing about his plans, and all of that was great. And we made a beeline to dinner because we had not eaten all day, and somebody's Long Island slept, like, they snuck up on me. I didn't think it was really doing anything, and so I ended up with a really bad headache last night. And I hate waking up to that. But after waking up, like, the walk, even though it was rainy and wet, now I'm in here with my tea and a candle. It feels good. It's a Sunday. You know.
I can dig it. That was pretty good right there. I like that explanation and how you led us into your Zen environment.
Yeah, all I need is some music playing in the background.
I think we can do that shortly.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking, those of you that don't know, we tried to shoot a few days ago and it just was not working, but I wanted to still go back to what we were talking about. And the reason why I mentioned it, because this is about like important to me, and I feel like this is the type of things that we need to talk about. And we were talking about generational wealth, and particularly the Black community. We often chase wealth, like financial wealth, and our daughter had an experience a couple weeks ago that just showed us how she has a different type of generational wealth. The way that she responded to a situation, because her mother and I would not have responded the way she did.
No.
And I feel like the thing that she has, and even Dallas, we've put them in situations, but we're going to tell you about what happened, just because we look at parenting a lot more deeper than money now, even though we all want to get financially abundant one day. But just our kids, we know that they're closer to being more safe as an adult when they leave us. Mm-hmm. So did you want to, I would prefer to you describe, because I don't want to, I'll give it my perspective. I have all of this information. You're pretty good at delivering, for everybody to understand what happened.
Okay, so our daughter was in a group project. Everybody hates a group project. It was a partner quiz. And so her, one of the girls, it was 3 in total, but one of the girls was angry with Day because she didn't feel like Day was contributing. And so Day was trying to explain to her, like, oh, I was trying to figure out what part I was going to take or what I'm supposed to do next. And so the girl was frustrated. And she just started yelling at Day. And me growing up, my response would have been different. But Day's response was to get her things and go to the desk and continue her work away from the group.
Now, remember, she's told her that she would fail.
Oh, yeah. So when Day had explained to her, like, I was just trying to figure out, whatever, the girl was like, if you did this by yourself, you would fail. And it really hurt her. Now, Day doesn't cry. But Day went through the entire day, came home, and was like, something happened. And I said, what happened? So she describes everything to me, and she starts crying. Now, me being who I am, raised the way that I was, I felt like, okay, it's time to go light some stuff up. Like, I'm really mad. So I'm listening to her, though. So this is another thing, is I decided, rather than put like, okay, so now I'm about to go do this or do that, I asked Day, I said, so how are you feeling? And she was explaining to me her feelings, which I really appreciate when kids know words to describe their feelings. And she was really hurt. And she was like, I was just trying to explain to her. I didn't know what I was supposed to do next, blah, blah, blah. And I said, how do you think you're going to feel tomorrow when you see her? What do you feel you want to say, you know? And she said, I know she was upset and she didn't mean to make me feel that way. So I'll be okay tomorrow. And I didn't understand.
I need y'all to know though, when Kanika told me that, she was like, she's like thinking like you, like people's intent wasn't what it was. And in my head, I'm like, that's how I'm thinking as an adult. I don't want my daughter to think that, because I think like she needs to do a different defense to show that she ain't playing.
Yeah, I felt like she should have went off on her just to let her know, you don't speak to me that way. But that wasn't her first response. Her first response was, Day's first response is, I don't want conflict. So if you are presenting conflict, she's just going to go in the other direction and give you an opportunity to reset yourself.
I ended up emailing the teacher, giving the heads up about what occurred. And then the next day happened where I guess the students were spoken to, and then they approached Day.
Yeah. So, Day was in the hallway before they spoke to her. So this was the interaction. Day was in the hallway on her phone. She wasn't looking up. And the girl walked up and she was like, you're just mad because, you know, you didn't do what you were supposed to do on that quiz. I think that she was saying that because Day wasn't talking to them. And Day wasn't talking to them because if it's going to be conflict, there's no point in talking. And so I think that the girl, this is my speculation, that the girl felt like, oh, she's acting like that, so then I'm going to act like this. Oh, you just mad because whatever. And so I said, well, Day, what did you do? She said, I just turned around and went in the classroom. So fast forward, and the girl gets a talk from the teacher. Now, the intention of contacting the teacher, we have a high school student. We understand that she's supposed to manage these types of social interactions. The point is that there were certain things that there are accommodations that she has when it comes to learning that we were saying to her, we need you to make sure that those things are accounted for before she goes into partnering situations. Because she felt Day can do a lot of things without her accommodations. But she felt that, you know, because her friends couldn't, she was just going to do the assignment without the accommodations because she didn't want to compromise the assignment. And this girl be thinking about everybody except herself. And so the point was for the teacher to manage that part, not to manage the social interaction between the girls. But
I guess I wasn't clear because I'm the one that emailed her, but it was more so when I spoke to her, I wanted her to have the heads up to let her know, because I didn't want anything to get out of control.
Oh, okay.
So to me, I'm like talking to myself. Like I know her intent was to just, because remember I told you, she said that the girl had a conflict with other students also, and it's time for somebody to speak to her.
Yeah. And so this was where it took a high school girl twist turn.
Oh, man.
So the girl, now the third girl has not said any of this stuff. She was quietly just being there. And it appears, so when the girl, when the person who was yelling at Day shows up with the other friend next to her, she says, why are you a snitch? And Day was like, I'm not a snitch. And she was like, you told the teacher that we were bullying you. Mind you, she said we. It was only one person that needed to be spoken to. It wasn't the other person. And so I feel like old girl told her friend, we were seen as bullies, and so now we are mad at Day, and the other girl is just kind of floating. And so Day was like, what she said, you tell the teacher that we were bullies. Day said, I didn't talk to the teacher. I talked to my parents. And I was like,
yeah, then she said that, and to me, like that just showed that she has a relationship with us because she expects us to protect her. And for her to say that and be confident that that was the right answer, It was like that. Look, that I didn't even think about that part. I think the next part is what made me feel like it was generational wealth for our daughter.
Yeah, yeah. So then after that, they had a lab, and in the lab, what did the girl say today?
She said that, I don't know. She said something to the point where she gave her an ultimatum, like, you can stay here and do something, or you can.
Oh yeah, or you can go. And they got her stuff and went and sat down and finished her assignment, went on by her business.
Yeah, like, so.
It was like, say less.
Yes. So just think about that. Like, our daughter, decided to take the non-confrontational route, and at some point, the reputation is that a day is not going to associate with BS. And I think that she's starting off. She didn't try to fit in the crowd. She was like, I don't like the way that I feel. So if I have to stay by myself, I'd rather do that than to hang with these girls who may not be considering her feelings.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, day, that happened. So how did the rest of the day go? She was like, oh, it's okay. The weather is nice in Michigan. So when it's nice in Michigan, the teachers want to be outside. So she said the classes had started, teachers started taking them outside. She was like, I'm hanging with such and such and such and such. We're playing this game. Everything is fine. And I said, so what did you do for lunch? Because she usually sits with him. She was like, it's okay. I sat by myself. And I was like, how did you feel about that? She was like, I was fine. So the next day, they go outside for the assignment. And they're working on this assignment. And Day is working by herself. And the two girls are working together. And when they're going inside, Day overhears the person who yelled at her. And she was like, that was so hard. Like, I don't even know, we need to finish. And the other one's like, yeah. And Day said she thought to herself, it really wasn't that hard. And she finished hers. And so I think that it really, it helped to give her that confidence. Like, yeah, that girl was trying to knock her off her square by telling her, like, you would fail if you did this by yourself, whatever. And one of the things that we said to her when she first came to us was, anybody that questions your intelligence, I don't ever want you to question your intelligence. Like, let's look at your grades. Let's look at your performance. Let's think about what the teachers say about you.
Yeah, she does very well.
She does.
She's actually exceptional.
She is. And so, but, people will try to knock you down when they're frustrated or upset or scared or whatever. And it was like, we had to remind her who she was real quick. Like, this is who you are, even when people tell you. So I appreciated that the knock to her ego she took that hurt her. We just had to remind her that sometimes people tell you lies because they're upset with you and they want you to see yourself in a certain way. Or
they want to see themselves in you.
Yes. But in all of this, the thing we loved the most was Day's natural instinct to just remove herself from bullshit.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, BS.
Yeah, for real. Like, not only that, like, I know, like, at one point I was thinking, like, what if a situation causes for her to need to respond differently? And I'm like trying to put her in situations that I know exist, but that was because it was me. You know what I'm saying? Like, my personality. And I think that the people that know Day knows that she's not like that. And I think that was an example of a confrontation that she surpassed as far as growing as a human. Like, when I think of how we would have responded, it would have been like, oh, I can get louder than you and I can use these hands.
And I think that that's kind of the tying in the part about the generational wealth. Like, it looks different. It's not always money. And sometimes it's being put in a position that's a little bit, that is an improvement from what you grew up in. So the stressors are different. Mm-hmm. Like, we had stressors where we felt like, okay, I have to get louder. I have to show myself to be more than, to be the person you really should be afraid of so that you'll back off, or I need to be ready to fight. And our kids are now in a lifestyle where that's not as much of a threat or a way of handling business amongst their current, the kids that they're around now. Now, there's still some, but not like how we grew up. And And then the other part of them being elevated above us is in those moments, I was ready to fight when she was telling me the story.
Yeah, no.
And my initial thought was I would have started getting loud as hell. Like, oh, you want to come over here and try to, wait, what does President Obama say? If you want to pop off, I was really at that point where that was what was running through my head. And even when I was telling you the story, you were like,
oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Way.
Like even like
her response was not our response.
Like my response now as a man wouldn't be like that, but it took me back. Like, hold up, and just evaluating that. Like I'm writing this paper about being great on purpose, and I was like, being great on purpose is being able to be in the worst situation possible, and you can get out of it because you can communicate effectively. Mm-hmm. And I think that where Day is versus us, her response is to walk away. And some people might like think that's something she's going to carry, but until she's able to communicate effectively, like that's the safest thing. Because let's say if hypothetically she just yelled back at her, "Don't talk to me like that," and that girl punched Day in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like Day's not a fighter. She doesn't know how to respond that way. So I told you when we first started talking about this, when kids they respond accordingly to make them stop feeling that way. So if you're scared and you meet a kid who's not scared, you need to be worried because they've done this way too many times and they're about to teach you a lesson. So they're gonna pull your card. Yeah. But if you can just get out of it, a kid, even a bully, I know we watch on TV and we see bullies like, no, you can't walk away from me. Like, yeah. But I think like at this point, like, if you walk away from something and somebody's watching, you look like a real bully if you're going to go put your hands on somebody who walked away from it.
I'm not going to lie. In this, like, there was conversation about asserting herself and setting boundaries and how to effectively communicate to someone that what they're doing is not something that is acceptable to you. It's not respectful. And, we talked about those things. How do you set your boundary? And Day is not at the point where she wants to outwardly say, I don't like how you did that. So her response is, I'm going to remove myself from any stressful situation. Mm-hmm. I was telling John, it's funny because I see more and more of a movement of, I tend to, the algorithms on Instagram, they send me a lot of stuff of Black women who are, moving in a direction of more peace and doing things the way they want to do. And there was something I was watching where there are a number of people who are like, I'm no longer going to stay in spaces that create stress or whatever. It's like Day has already been there. We're just now figuring out as grown women, like we don't have to live in constant stress and trying to manage these things. Sometimes we could just walk away.
Yes.
Well, I feel like I need to let you know, and I feel like I've been raised, and a lot of my cohort has been raised that way, where it's like, no, when you present a stressful situation to me, I'm supposed to stand up to it with my chest out and get louder and let you know how you ain't gonna treat me like this and blah, blah, blah. And Day is like, that seems like a lot of work.
That's a level of civility that she has surpassed us.
Yeah,
like
if you're nah.
If you're still ready to fight over a conversation, you haven't gone to the next level of like, we could really talk this out and figure this out.
But even for her to say to me, I'm sure she did not mean to make me feel that way, so I won't be mad tomorrow. I was like, shoot, I'm going and I'm be like, how yesterday you was talking all that junk? That's how I know that Day is not me. But and I appreciate it. I really respect her. Like, we were talking about how much we respected her as a young person, being able to make that decision and not worried about how other people read it. But if somebody were to, they walk away and they were to grab her from behind, I need her to be able to smack them in their face.
Yeah.
That's for a later podcast.
I don't look, check this out. I don't want that energy. No, you can't say that. Like, they may not even, like, I met people that have never been in a fight. Why would our kids have to go through it then?
You're right. A lot of my friends have never
That's
been in a
fight. That's what
fight.
I'm saying. So you talking about Day's going to get put in a situation?
Because if somebody does, I want her to know. Like, I remember when they were little, I love my sister, John's sister. She told all the little kids, if anybody tries to fight you, chop them in the throat. immediately, right? And even to this day, Day laughs because she says TT told me to chop him in the throat. But
she was serious too.
She was dead
as
serious
a heart attack.
As a heart attack. But it's just like, I need you to know that you may run up on somebody who has, it's in them that they're not scared and they think that this is the next reasonable step. Now we have to fight.
Yeah, I know.
Then what's going to happen? Like, I'm scared to death because I used to tell Day, I want you guys to take your hand as far as you can behind your body. And I want you to swing as hard as you can, try to knock somebody's head off. And if
they miss them, that means like, now you done made me mad. Now you done got your kid whooped up on.
I need you to be able to land the hit though.
Even if they did, they was like, why did you do that? I was just asking. Now I got to beat you up. Look, listening to you.
Look.
I don't understand.
So yeah, but I want y'all to know that my kids, they really feel like I'm probably more violent than I need to be. And they laugh at me, but they don't take on those types of behaviors. They just shake their head at the things that I say like that. So I want y'all to know that my kids really be looking at me like, okay. One thing I love though is that they know that they can tell me anything.
Yes, they do.
And if they wanted me to fight, I would fight, in the sense of, if they wanted me to defend them in a way that is appropriate as a parent, they know I'll do it.
Yeah.
They probably question if I would do it not like a parent and probably like a person off the streets. But they trust me enough to talk to me because I will give them guidance on how to manage, situations like that. But I'm also ready to fight if you need me to. I really wish that I could look ahead and be able to give them the heads up beforehand so they would know how to handle it when they come to it though.
I think they're already there. They're already sophisticated enough to be able to say, hey, my intent was never to fight. I didn't even know how we got here.
Yeah.
Can we somehow, can I apologize for whatever I did? I believe that they're in a position where they could de-escalate a situation, because whatever energy somebody brought, that wasn't ever the situation.
Yeah.
Even in a playing moment, it was like, my bad, or I'm sorry. I just feel like they're able to get out of it through exchanging the right words.
Or just walking away. I feel like that's my, that Day and Dallas would be looking like, why? A lot of things, I think that they're like, why are we making so much about this?
And they don't even see it.
They don't see it as high,
but I'm saying they don't,
things.
Because they don't see it at all. It's not even a part of their environment.
Yeah. And so I guess from this conversation, I guess it's just interesting for me to see how on her own, Day was able to learn how to manage situations in a calmer, less, what's the word I want? I don't know. It's not barbaric, because we weren't raised to be barbarians, but we were raised to immediately look for, how do I protect myself?
Correct.
You're not always in danger.
Typically through violence or
you're not always in danger. It really can be just simply walking away. I remember growing up and they'd be like, just walk away. And we'd be like, you can't walk away.
Yeah.
But with her, I learned you can walk away.
Yeah, I think before, I guess, you can't walk away because if somebody tell your parents you're going to get a whooping, and it's like, I got to do this. So it's just thinking about.
I remember parents saying, you let nobody beat up on you.
And
don't come home and you ain't. Yeah.
And I just feel like the civility of it all, they're going to be safe. And like I said, I mean, if they get beat up, it ain't hurt everybody. You know what I'm saying? Some people learn from it like, okay, I need to make sure I don't do that again. But I don't think that they'll put themselves in a situation where it just came out of nowhere.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy for, that's the generational wealth on that aspect. And you know what, another thing that I like, the way that they eat. I feel like they eat so much better than
that changed so quick.
No, I'm talking about generational wealth aspect. I wanted to stay on the subject because there's so many things that I can see they're not going to have to worry when they get older, like adults our age. Like just think about our peer group. They're more focused on, they're trying to focus on health now because they feel like, they'll live a little longer, but our kids, I feel like the way that we're practicing now is causing them to have habits where they won't have to worry about the things that
as far as the food, the distractions of food.
Okay, I'm getting a little tangled up in the term. So are we talking about evolution or generational wealth?
What I'm referring to generational wealth as far as what can help them get to the next level. When we talk about typical, it was always money that will remove a lot of the stressors away. So I'm saying if they master their diet at a young age, you know how people's like, I gotta get in the gym and I gotta not eat this. Like they won't that won't be one of their problems.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like think about our peer group. Like
yeah, I hear you.
Everybody in our peer group, for the most part, is at some point talking about the gym or watching what they eat instead of like everybody just already eating the right thing. Like they in Dallas, I don't think will be caught up in how do I figure that part out. You know what I'm saying? So I just like just thinking about how if it's meat that they cook, it's probably chicken. You know what I'm saying? And they use meat substitutes. They use gluten-free items.
They do.
You know what I'm saying? It's like an unconscious thing now. Like to me, I feel like remember how you were talking about how the younger generation are growing up with recognizing different people's categories. And it's like we have to learn it because we don't have that in our, so for them, that's just gonna be their regular part. And like, oh my gosh, if I see another cheeseburger, they was like, you eat those things?
I'm like, ew.
You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna take a while for that because Dallas is in love with A&W. But
how often does he eat that?
Yeah, but he doesn't eat it often.
No. What is often? Because you just said he's in love with A&W.
He is, but well, number one, it's across town, and you can only do what your parents let you do. But he's had it like 4 times out of the year, 5 times out of the year.
That's my point. Like,
yeah,
and he only does it with you. So if there's somebody enabling
me under the bus.
Somebody. No, you don't want to say it. I just want y'all to know. I don't. They don't have to do that with me. No, because she enables the bad habits. So if they don't master it, it's because somebody hasn't mastered it in the household. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's so much further in advance.
I agree.
So like even regardless, we're doing this together.
Because I mean, by their age, I was really trying to have McDonald's all the time.
Yeah, and they won't even consider. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I'm good with that. What else?
What do you think as far as, you know, what would you like them to have that you feel like that was troubling for us outside of money? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think could help them? You know what, if they didn't have to go through this, that didn't help me at all. You know, like, you know, people say experience is the best teachers, right? Yeah. But wouldn't you just like to have somebody say, hey, the people I've seen go this way, they've done these consequences?
Well, the only thing growing up that I wish I hadn't had to deal with was my father's mental health, like the fallout of that. And so I'm trying to be mindful of my own mental health so that they don't have to. And I still see the flaws that I need to handle in order for them to not be impacted by it. But things like money and access to activities they're interested in, stuff like that didn't weigh on me as much growing up. And even now, I don't think about it because I know that they can have it. It's that mental part. The other thing, though, is I remember growing up, and I don't know if I've ever said this. I had a friend, she's still my best friend, and she loves designer everything. From when we were younger, she was wearing used and damaged and Guess and everything. Whatever came out, when it came out, she was wearing it, Jabot, whatever. So when we were growing up, I used to love her clothes, but I would never ask my mom to buy me anything like that. I waited until I was working myself to pay for stuff like that. And I remember talking to my mom about it one day, and she was like, but why did you do that? Why didn't you ever even ask me? Because you could have had it. But I thought that's not a necessity. That's a luxury, that's a want. I could wear the pants that don't have nautical on them. I can wear the shirt. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. And so I never put that on my parents. But over the last week, more than twice, Dallas has said something to me about a choice he's made or a choice he won't make because it looks like it costs too much money. And I was like, and I think you had a conversation with him about this earlier too. And I was like, I appreciate that you care, but let me make the decision as to what is okay and what's not okay financially. Like, I love that you're mindful and you don't want to stress your family. But trust me, if I'm offering something out to you, it's because I'm not putting a restriction on it. We're okay. And I love that Dallas is mindful of money and that he cares about, the overall financial state of the family. But we've never made it where they've had to think about that. Like, we're poor or we don't have the money. We don't do that. But I love that he cares. But then it makes me think that what is he not asking to experience because he's worried about the cost?
I don't know.
Like, he wants to play the guitar. And so he talked to us about it. And then what did he say to you about?
I met this guy. He's going to blow up. His name is Alex Teller. Shout out to him. He plays the acoustic guitar. And when Dallas told me that, I was like, man, I met this person that's really good at the guitar. And he was like, really? And I showed him the video, and he was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And I was like, is that the kind of guitar you want? He was like, yeah. And I was like, you sure? He was like, well, isn't electric expensive? I was like, why are you worried about the price? We want to get you what you want. He was like, well, I don't want you to spend some. I said, look, we're the parents. All you can get is no. Mm-hmm. And guess what? All you can get is probably what you asked for. Yeah. So if you don't ask, the least you can, the less you can get, the least you can get is the no. Yeah. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you could really get whatever you want. So he was like, I want an electric guitar. So I was like, if you don't tell us these things, then we can't ever surprise you with things that's lined up with your interest because you're worried about if we can afford it or not. And that's not your job. Let us worry about that. And again, it's only a no. And if it's a no, we'll have an explanation on why.
Right.
But don't determine that for your parents.
Right. And I agree with that. I just felt like I understood where he was coming from, and I appreciate it in a world of knowing. Like, I remember I had this one student who was telling me about how I used to teach years and years ago. And he was telling me about how his parents were going to get him this iPhone, and you see these kids wearing stuff all the time, and you see the parents, and you realize the parents are really going without so their kids can have.
Yeah.
And so I understand that can take place.
But why would he know that?
Yeah. And so for him to automatically think that way, I appreciate it. But I feel like in the background, he's probably limiting something that he really wants to do, but he feels like that's probably something that's not within our reach. And we don't talk about money or what we can afford. We live below our means. And so
until
this house. No, yeah. I want y'all to know I love my house.
We all love the house.
When it gets to the point where I really, really start getting into it, I'm going to post pictures because I'm going to be that proud. Like, my mind is on fire.
It's already nice without her doing it.
It is. But once I put my stamp on it, oh my God. So I'm going to let y'all know, but I love this house. So, but I'm not going to lose my mind around this house. But we don't flash a lot of money. We do things, but we're not over the top. And it's not because we can't do more. It's just, if we're good with what we're doing,
then
we have
let's different interests now.
Yeah. So I don't know if in the environment that we live in, if they're getting this idea. I don't know what it is, but I just don't want them to limit themselves thinking that it's outside of their reach when it very well may be within their reach.
I believe everything's within their reach because they have no idea, and if it makes sense, we probably all want to do it anyway.
I think that it's good to teach people, like, the worst you can get is a no.
Yes.
Because I was just talking to, we had a friend who is talking about looking for another job, and she was like, you know, someone, they were offering her money, and before she responded, she came to our friend chat, and she was like, you guys are always talking about negotiation. How do I manage what I'm going to ask for? And one of my friends, she's always talking about how she's negotiating something. And she was like, the worst they can do is tell you no. You say what you want and sprinkle a little more on top of it. Because when they say no, you might even be able to negotiate down to what you actually wanted in the first place. But she was like, but the worst thing they could say is no. And in most cases, they'll say no, but they'll leave the door open for something else, or they'll give a counter offer. And so I like the idea of telling the kids, like, the worst you could get is no.
Yeah, I mean, like, a no is just find out how you can make it a yes.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that too.
You know what I'm saying? Like, apparently at this point, you don't have enough qualifications. So what do you need to do to build upon yourself for the yes to happen? Mm-hmm. And I feel like us learning or becoming better communicators, they will eventually, like those conversations you have with your friends, you know, those are like just regular conversations I think that everybody should have, because if you don't have somebody to tell you that, you don't do it, then you just stay in your shell.
But I also think that comes from our upbringing as well.
Oh, yeah.
It was like when your parents say, no, you better not ask, like, but why? Because I said.
Yeah,
and then that's the end. It's not like because of this. Oh, well, if I do this, can I have that? So that's what I'm trying to figure out.
How did they get to the point of worried about finances versus no?
Right. Well, yeah, and then that's the other thing. So it's interesting. Like even with now in the house, Dallas, he wants to be in the basement. The basement is finished. He wants his bedroom down there. And so I was like, yeah, sure. And then John was like, no, because then we're going to have 3 bathrooms. Dave's going to have her own. He's going to have his own. We're going to have our, he was like, and then we don't know how they're cleaning it. We want to make sure the house stays clean. So no, I don't think that Dallas should be down there. Well, the compromise was you need to show us that you're able to keep the bathroom clean. Like we're not going to do anything to the bathroom you guys use. We just want to see if you can keep it clean. The next thing is Dallas is so hard to wake up in the morning. Mm-hmm. So it's like you have to show us that you can wake yourself up and get yourself going and ready to go out the door without us having to prod you. So it's not a no.
Correct.
At first it was a no because John was like, nah, that's not going to work. But it's like if you can show me
that you're responsible enough to have your own area of the house, because, you know, this really came, the second part was waking up what came from Day.
Yes.
Because, you know, Dallas, he can stay up as late as he want. I told him I just don't want to have a problem with waking him up in the morning. And now I'm not going to lie, I've had some trouble lately because in my trouble, I want to tell you the extent of it. It's me saying it the second time. I want to get to the point where he just understands I should not be doing this. So Day was like, who's going to go downstairs to wake up Dallas and make sure he's up? And she didn't say that to me. And I'm mad in a mug that I didn't even think about that part. Because
you're the one who's always waking him up. Yeah, Day is like a baby parent. Mm-hmm. She's always looking around to try to figure out, okay, so how are we going to make sure that Dallas is okay? Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. And so when she said that, I was like, oh, because we're not doing that.
Yeah, I'm not. And I told him that today. Well, yesterday when I was driving him to school, I said, hey, no, it was because he was already up and we're in the weekend. So it was Friday. And I said, hey, we've been thinking that you need to wake your own self up because you set your alarm and you don't wake up. So if you can't figure this out before school's out, you're going to be upstairs with the rest of us. Mm-hmm. And I said, do you understand? He said, I understand that. And typically when you tell Dallas something that he doesn't want, he'll get teary-eyed. But I was just trying to explain it to him, like, don't nobody want to go back downstairs to see if you've gotten up. That's just lost time. So putting the responsibility in his hands, to me, felt like it's like, are you going to accept it? Are you going to accept maturing into the next level?
Yeah. And if you are, then that's that compromise. Then you can get your yes. And so yeah, that was just something else about, that's us still teaching, but us also, like the story with Day, we're still learning. We're learning from our kids, but we're also teaching them. So it was kind of cool.
For sure. And that was what I really wanted to talk about. I wanted to show how you can talk about generational wealth that can help your kids in multiple areas, not just money. Because I'm going to tell you this. Generational wealth in the finances, I've come to the point, is a big distraction, because you got to show your kids how to make that anyway, because if not, they're going to be dependent on you at some point. So the most of the time when you see people looking for generational wealth, I'll talk about that another time. But I had another theory on, people chasing a dollar.
Okay.
But we're going to end this one up. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we get out of here?
I want to give a shout out to my nephew, Cortez. He, like I said, he graduated. He's my second nephew to graduate out of my family on my side. It's just been great watching, like John and I were talking about the evolution of him and how he was a real wild card, like my younger brother when he was younger. And then he just like turned around in the 9th grade, around high school. He just turned around, and everything he's just been amazing. Like, to talk to him, he's a thoughtful young man. And I sounded like an old person when I said that, but he really is. He's very thoughtful. He's calm. He's observant. He's, and I love listening to him. I loved watching him walk across the stage. It was so funny. Before he went in, I said, "We're not going to embarrass you being loud." He said, "No, that's the point. Like, I want you to be loud." You know what I'm saying? And he's very quiet and very reserved, but I was going to scream my lungs out for him because I'm just proud of who he is. He's a great man, and I look forward to, we've lived away from here for so long, and then the pandemic came and we really didn't see him. I just look forward to seeing what he does. So I want to give a shout out to him because he is definitely my shining star this year, this week, of what I see coming in the future. And I love you, Cortez. If you listen to this, I'm just proud of you.
I love you too. And he was an athlete, just to let y'all know. He was
a student athlete.
For sure.
Yes.
So big kudos to him. I want to give a shout out to all the people who are participating in trying to make the world a better place, particularly the petitioners in the state of Michigan. There are people that are really trying to break the attention of people in their day-to-day life to get some signatures to try to create possible opportunities for everybody to benefit from. So I just want you guys to know that you're appreciated, because people don't want to do that job, and no matter the weather, you got to be out there getting it. So shout out to y'all.
Shout out.
Make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA. Get after that action, or that action will get after you. Boom. Be great on purpose.